Let me ask you this. Have you ever met someone who walks into a room and commands it without saying a word? That's not arrogance. That's not pride. That's wisdom. We live in a world that celebrates noise, a world that begs for your secrets, feeds off your failures, and profits from your pain. But the truly wise, they carry their brilliance like a well-tailored coat, close, quiet, and undeniable. Tonight, I will reveal to you 8 sacred secrets, not just of smart minds, but of wise souls. And by the time we finish, you will not only understand what they never say, you'll know why they never say it. Stay with me, and you'll come to see that what you keep to yourself may be the very thing that sets you free. They never share their full plans until they're complete, not because they're secretive, not because they're mistrustful, but because they understand the delicate nature of growth. A seed does not announce its intention to become a tree. It simply buries itself in the soil, gathers strength in silence, and rises when the time is right. Likewise, the truly wise know that speaking too soon invites winds too strong for roots not yet deep. To speak your dreams before they're ready is to expose them to judgment, comparison, and even sabotage. Not always by enemies, often by those who love you. Sometimes it is the closest voice that whispers, "Are you sure?" And those words spoken without ill intent can sow doubt in even the firmest minds. Smart people have learned that the earliest stages of vision are the most fragile. That's when your idea is still finding its form, when you yourself may not fully understand its power. In that sacred stage, it must be protected. Silence in those moments becomes an incubator. Not everyone deserves access to your beginning. The loud world asks, "What are you working on?" And the wise answer, "You'll see when it's done." That's not arrogance, that's stewardship. That's knowing that some things lose their magic when explained too soon. The deepest truths are often ruined when reduced to casual conversation, because people don't always listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the instinct to respond, to question, to fit your vision into their view. But your vision is not theirs. It wasn't given to them. It was planted in you. Smart people understand that plans need space. They need time. Not everything is meant to be declared before it's developed. A vision shared too early becomes a conversation, but a vision completed becomes a legacy. Consider the painter. She does not call the world into her studio after the first brushstroke. She waits, layer after layer, stroke after stroke, in solitude. She may toil for days, for weeks, for years. She listens to the silence between her thoughts, and when it is done, truly done, she unveils it, not with explanation, but with presence. She does not need to explain what it is. The work speaks. That's what smart people know. They know that showing is always stronger than telling, that people believe what they can see, and until your idea can walk on its own, it is not ready to face the world. It takes discipline not to share, because we are taught that transparency is virtue, that openness equals honesty. But there is a difference between truth and timing. Just because something is real doesn't mean it's ready. Smart people exercise the patience to wait, not just for the right time to act, but the right time to speak. Some people talk to soothe their anxiety. Talking about what they plan to do gives them a sense of accomplishment, a feeling of momentum. But that's a counterfeit energy. It wears off quickly, and when the work gets hard, as it always does, those words echo back, asking, "What happened?" The wise know it is better to suffer in silence and succeed than to speak too soon and stumble under the weight of expectations. They also understand energy. Every time you tell someone your plan, you give away a little of the energy needed to complete it. Opinions, feedback, praise, and criticism. They all take energy. And sometimes just hearing your own idea aloud too often can wear it down. The wise conserve their creative power like water in a desert. They know it must last. There is another layer too, the idea of protection. The world is not always kind to those who dream. Sometimes revealing your plan too early invites competition, not collaboration. Sometimes it awakens envy in people you thought were your cheerleaders. The smart do not walk in paranoia, but in awareness. They choose their confidants with care. They know some people can handle your joy, but not your ambition. Others can celebrate your past, but not your future. So they hold the vision close. They speak it only to those who have earned the right to hear it, through loyalty, through wisdom, through quiet support. And often, even then, they still speak less than they know. And when the day comes, when the plan is no longer just an idea, but a living, breathing accomplishment, they reveal it not with fanfare, but with quiet certainty. Not, I'm going to do this, but I've done it. And in that moment, the power of their silence becomes clear. They didn't hide, they prepared, they didn't lie, they built, they didn't shrink. They simply chose to rise in silence so that when they spoke, the world would already believe. Because they would have already shown, not because they are cold, not because they are hard-hearted, but because they understand that what you hand over emotionally becomes a tool in someone else's hands. The wise know that self-awareness is strength, but self-exposure is vulnerability, and not everyone who learns your soft spots will handle them with care. There is a certain elegance in restraint. When you walk into a room and no one knows what moves you, what breaks you, or what sets your soul on fire, you hold the power. Smart people, wise people, they don't parade their pain for validation. They don't advertise their wounds as if pain is currency. They feel deeply, but they bleed privately. They understand that emotional transparency is something you earn the right to witness, not something given away freely like loose change. Some people mistake honesty for emotional unguardedness, but the truth is not every part of your heart is meant to be open to every set of eyes. There are those who will love you but not know how to hold your emotions, and there are those who will pretend to care only to collect your weaknesses like weapons for another day. The wise move differently. They choose to listen more than they speak. They don't explode. They observe. They don't react. They reflect. Smart people don't walk around saying, "Don't say this to me, it upsets me," or "That makes me angry." Instead, they study those moments. They ask themselves, "Why did that hurt me? What old wound did it touch?" And rather than hand that insight over to the world, they hand it back to themselves and heal. Because healing, real healing, doesn't always happen in front of an audience. Sometimes the most powerful transformations happen in the quiet, in the stillness, when no one is watching. They know that in emotionally charged moments, the one who stays calm wins. Not in a competitive way, but in a grounded one. When someone knows how to push your buttons, they own a part of you. They can provoke you, distract you, or manipulate you. But when you no longer react to what used to control you, when you protect your emotional triggers like sacred ground, you rise above the noise. Silence, for the wise, is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of control. Smart people practice emotional discipline. They do not allow every insult to become a wound. They do not allow every offense to pull them into battle. Not everything deserves a response. Not everyone is worth the explanation. Some things are better answered with peace. And the deepest form of peace is when someone tries to provoke you and fails. They don't reveal their emotional triggers because they understand how fragile trust can be. Once you tell someone, "That word, that tone, that memory, it hurts me," you are placing your heart in their hands. And that is a sacred exchange. Not everyone will value it. Not everyone will understand the weight of that gift. Some will unintentionally step on it, others may purposely test it. The wise don't gamble their peace on the unpredictable reactions of others. They stay close to themselves. They become their own protector. This doesn't mean they never open up. It means they open up with intention. They speak when the space is safe. They reveal when the timing is right, but they don't do it to gain sympathy. They do it to deepen connection, and even then, they choose what to say and what to leave unsaid, because not every part of your past needs to be unpacked to be understood. And when they are hurt, they do not perform their pain. They process it. They journal. They pray. They meditate. They seek solitude, not to hide, but to realign. Because they know that when emotions lead, wisdom takes a back seat. And so they pause, they breathe, they wait until the storm passes, and then they speak, if speaking is even necessary. They don't let others define their state of mind. They don't say, "You made me angry." They say, "I felt anger when that happened," because they know their emotions belong to them. And they do the work to understand why they feel what they feel. That's what makes them unshakable. Not that they don't feel, but that they know where their feelings come from, and they don't give anyone else the steering wheel. In a world that feeds off oversharing and emotional theatrics, the wise choose a different path. They know that strength is quiet, that power is calm, and that the person who knows their emotional triggers and chooses not to broadcast them walks through life with a quiet kind of armor, not to shut others out, but to keep their own peace in. They don't hide, they protect. They don't suppress, they manage. They don't isolate, they elevate. And in that stillness, they find freedom. Because still waters run deep, and the most profound progress often happens away from watching eyes. Smart people don't broadcast their intentions. They don't feel the need to explain every step before it's taken, nor do they crave validation before action. They understand that movement loses its strength when it's constantly narrated. There's power in privacy and even greater power in restraint. When people announce what they're going to do before they do it, they give away more than words. They give away their edge. They allow others to calculate, to interfere, to compete, or to doubt. But those who know how to keep quiet as they plan and prepare move with a certain grace. Their energy isn't spent on talking, it's invested in doing. Every hour, every decision, every calculated step is made with care and not for an audience. The wise know that noise doesn't build legacies, consistency does. They don't feel the pressure to impress others with promises. Instead, they impress with results. They've learned that the more people know about your strategy, the easier it becomes for someone to sabotage it, whether through intention or influence. That's why they hold their vision close. They build in silence and speak through the strength of their arrival. There is also a sacredness in beginnings. When a seed is planted, it must be buried. It must be shielded from the elements until it grows strong enough to break the surface. Smart people understand this. They recognize that their next move, whether it's a new job, a shift in direction, a bold dream, must first grow its roots. And roots don't grow in the spotlight. They grow underground, in silence, in shadow. This quiet isn't fear, it's focus. Talking about a move can create a sense of progress, a temporary satisfaction. It's easy to confuse conversation for accomplishment, but the wise resist that temptation. They don't indulge in the comfort of premature praise. They don't decorate the hallway before opening the door. They know the applause will come when the work is done, and when it comes, It will be earned, not asked for. It's not secrecy for the sake of mystery, it's strategy. Silence in this case is a form of discipline, a way to protect one's direction from doubt, distraction, and derailment, because every plan, no matter how strong, has its vulnerable stages. Speaking too soon about what you're building opens the door for opinions that you didn't ask for and reactions you're not prepared to navigate. The smart avoid this trap. They let their actions unfold on their own timeline, not under the pressure of external expectation. They understand that not everyone will understand, and not everyone should. Some people interpret your ambition as arrogance, others as delusion, but those opinions only matter if you invite them in. When you keep your move quiet, you give yourself space to evolve without interruption. You get to shift, change direction, adapt, and even fail without performance. You get to move with freedom. Freedom is found in privacy. In a world where people constantly share their goals, projects, and dreams, the wise move in the opposite direction. They know that when your next move is unknown, your every step is protected. No one can interfere with a process they can't see. No one can slow down a train they don't hear coming. And when the move is made, when the result appears, there is no need for explanation. The work will speak. It will announce itself without words. And those who didn't see it coming will understand that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives quietly, with precision, with presence, with undeniable impact. There is beauty in the reveal, but there is wisdom in the wait. The wise delay the reveal until the foundation is strong. They do not tease, they do not hint, they simply do the work. They make peace with solitude. They fall in love with process. And in that quiet process, they become what they once only imagined. Smart people don't need to prove that they are working on something great. They don't chase the illusion of being impressive. They stay grounded. They stay committed. And when the moment comes, they step forward, not to shock, but to confirm what they already knew. They keep their next move quiet, not because they doubt it, but because they respect it. They protect it from noise, from doubt, from unnecessary attention. And in doing so, they allow the move to gain strength in silence so that when it finally speaks, it cannot be ignored. Not because they are ashamed of what they have or fearful of what they lack, but because they understand that money is one of the quickest ways to distort relationships, shift perceptions, and expose hidden agendas. The wise know that the moment you speak of what you earn, what you owe, or what you own, you invite an invisible weight into the room, an energy that changes how people look at you, talk to you, and even treat you. Smart people keep their financial matters to themselves because they know that money is never just about numbers. It's about power, pride, envy, and ego. Share too little and some will assume you're struggling. Share too much and others may begin to compete, compare, or quietly resent. So they choose to walk the middle road, not secretive, but private, not defensive, just aware. There's a difference between transparency and discretion, and the wise have learned, often through experience, that financial transparency with the wrong people can lead to conversations not about growth, but about judgment. When you tell someone what you make, it doesn't just inform, it changes the air between you. It might invite admiration, but more often, it breeds expectation. And expectations turn quickly into assumptions. Assumptions become pressure, and pressure, when uninvited, becomes poison. They understand that money brings out the truth in people, not always in ways you'd expect. Friends may start measuring your generosity. Family may begin to ask questions that sound like concern but feel like entitlement. Coworkers may shift from collaboration to quiet competition. Smart people avoid that trap. They let their work, their kindness, and their consistency speak for them, not their bank accounts. Even in success, they know silence is strength. When they receive a raise, they don't announce it. When they make a wise investment, they don't parade it. When they're navigating debt, they don't broadcast it. Because money isn't a conversation they need to have to feel validated. Their worth is not tied to their wealth, and they don't need financial disclosure to feel significant. They've also seen how quick people are to define others by digits. A person with visible wealth is treated with deference, even if that wealth is borrowed. A person without it may be dismissed, even if they are rich in every way that matters. That kind of surface-level evaluation is something the wise want no part of. So they move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that their financial journey, its highs and lows, is personal and private. Some people speak about money to impress, others to complain, but the smart do neither. They understand that boasting about wealth rarely inspires. It often alienates. And complaining about finances doesn't invite solutions. It invites opinions, so they keep still. They share only what's necessary, only with those who've earned that trust. In relationships, too, they are careful. Money has broken more homes than infidelity. The conversations are important, yes, but timing and trust are everything. The wise don't avoid financial discussions, but they approach them with clarity and caution. Not everyone you date, befriend, or collaborate with needs to know the depth of your financial life. That level of intimacy is earned, not assumed. Even with success, the wise stay humble. They live below their means. They don't make noise with their purchases. They don't treat luxury as proof of arrival. To them, wealth is a tool, not a trophy. It is used quietly to create, to give, to grow. They don't need to wear it on their wrists or flash it in conversation. They are not defined by what they own, and they have no need to perform prosperity. When they do speak about money, it is to educate, not to elevate themselves. They might mentor someone privately, share insights with someone ready to learn, but they don't announce their net worth. They don't post their balances. They don't turn financial success into content. Because they know that real wealth is not loud. It moves subtly with intention. And it doesn't need to be understood by everyone to be real. They keep their financial details private because peace of mind is priceless. Because they'd rather be underestimated than envied. Because they value relationships built on character, not currency. And because they know that the less people know about what they have, the more freedom they have to move without expectation or scrutiny. Smart people don't hide their money. They protect it. They protect the energy around it. They protect their mental space from the weight of comparison. And in that protection, they find clarity, dignity, and quiet control over one of life's most misunderstood tools. Because peace once found becomes sacred. It's not loud, not flashy, not something to parade. It's a quiet stillness, a deep exhale, a return to the self after the chaos of the world has tried to scatter it. Smart people know how hard peace is to build and how easy it is to lose. That's why they protect it fiercely, not from life's natural storms, but from careless hands, from noisy minds, from curious eyes that don't know how to appreciate silence. When someone discovers what brings them peace, they don't shout it from the rooftops. They don't explain it to people who wouldn't understand. They simply go there, mentally, physically, emotionally, and stay. Maybe it's a small routine that grounds them, a place they walk when no one is watching, a book that speaks to something deeper, a moment in the morning when the world hasn't yet reached for them. Whatever it is, they don't turn it into a trend. They don't post about it. They don't make it a topic, because it's not for others, it's for them. Peace is delicate. When shared with the wrong people, it can be dismissed, devalued, or even destroyed. Some may question it. That's all you need to feel better? Others may mock it. You're so sensitive. Some may even try to intrude upon it, not to hurt, but because they don't understand the boundaries around it. Smart people see this happen once and they learn. They stop explaining what doesn't need explanation. They stop inviting people into spaces that were built for their own healing, not for display. Not everyone deserves access to your stillness. Not everyone should be allowed into your quiet spaces, especially those who thrive in noise. There are people who, consciously or not, pull others into their own chaos. They want company in their unrest, but the wise don't follow. They watch. They recognize energy, and when they sense disturbance, they distance themselves, not out of arrogance, but preservation. Sometimes peace isn't found in things. It's found in people, in a quiet friend, a mentor, a partner who sees them without words. And even then, they protect those connections. They don't broadcast those bonds for the sake of appearances. They hold them close. Because when a person helps you breathe deeper, think clearer, and rest softer, you don't hand that bond to the crowd. You nourish it in private. You protect it from envy, from interference, from the curiosity of people who don't understand its depth. They also know that peace is found in boundaries, in the ability to say no without guilt, in the freedom to disconnect without explanation. The wise don't apologize for choosing peace over performance. They don't feel the need to justify why they don't attend every event, answer every message, or engage in every debate. They've learned that not every invitation is a blessing. Not every conversation needs their voice. Some things are better left unbothered. And when life becomes overwhelming, they don't scream, they retreat. They return to the things that restore them. They pause. They don't see rest as weakness. They see it as strategy. Because a calm mind sees clearly, acts wisely, and moves with purpose. They value that clarity more than attention, more than approval. That's why they guard it. Even in conflict, they protect their peace. They don't argue to win. They don't fight to be right. They don't let anger choose their words. Instead, they listen to their inner stillness. They ask themselves, is this worth my peace? And if it's not, they let it go. Not because they are passive, but because they are in control. Some might call it detachment, but it's not. It's connection to the self, to the truth, to what matters beyond the noise. The wise know that drama has a way of dressing itself in urgency. That distraction often disguises itself as duty. But peace sees through all of that. Peace waits, peace listens, and they listen with it. They guard their sources of peace because they know that from peace comes power, from peace comes vision, from peace comes creation, love, understanding. A mind at war cannot build, a soul in chaos cannot lead. But a peaceful heart moves mountains without shouting, so they guard it. Quietly, without needing to explain why, without needing others to agree. They build a life where peace is the center, not the reward at the end, but the compass throughout. And in doing so, they live not just wisely, but freely. Not because they are deceptive, but because they understand that wisdom isn't in how much you say. It's in what you choose not to say. Smart people carry knowledge like a sharp blade tucked inside silk, visible only when necessary, never for show. They speak with intention, not to impress or dominate, but to offer what is useful. The rest they keep tucked away, not out of pride, but out of discipline. Revealing everything you know every time you're given the chance is not a sign of brilliance. It's a sign of insecurity. The wise understand this. They've seen how people talk to be heard rather than understood. They've seen how some will throw their knowledge around like confetti, hoping to be seen as the brightest in the room, unaware that true intelligence often enters quietly and exits unnoticed. Smart people know that silence holds power. They understand that when you listen more than you speak, you gain insight others miss. You learn not only the content of conversations, but the motives behind them. You begin to see who truly seeks wisdom and who simply wants to win. By withholding, you observe. By not rushing to contribute, you position yourself to lead, because leadership often begins with listening. They never feel pressured to prove they know. They don't interrupt, they don't argue to assert dominance, and they don't correct others to inflate their sense of self. They've learned that people reveal who they are when you let them speak freely. So they nod, they wait, and they file away what's useful. And when they do speak, it's measured. It lands with weight, not because it's loud, but because it's earned. The wise are masters of timing. They don't reveal what they know too soon, because timing is just as important as truth. Some things are best left unsaid until the moment is right, until the listener is ready, or until the outcome calls for it. They understand that when information is shared without purpose, it loses value. So they wait. They don't hide. They don't deceive. They simply preserve. There's also a certain safety in not revealing all you know. Information can be used, twisted, misinterpreted. The wise have learned, often through betrayal, that what you share can be weaponized by those who don't value your trust. So they become selective, not secretive, just intentional. They share with those who listen to understand, not those who listen to respond, with those who seek truth, not leverage. In professional settings, they don't lay all their cards on the table. They understand that being underestimated is often a better position than being overly exposed. When others don't know the full depth of your knowledge, they can't prepare for your full capacity. This gives you room to observe, adapt, and move with strategic precision. The wise don't flaunt their mastery. They let their work, their consistency, and their clarity speak for them. Even in personal relationships, they're mindful. They don't tell every story, reveal every insight, or express every opinion, not because they're guarded, but because they know that intimacy isn't built by revealing everything. It's built by revealing the right things at the right time to the right people. They are open-hearted but measured, because some truths are too precious to place in careless hands. And when someone seeks their counsel, they don't flood them with facts. They ask questions. They guide rather than dictate, because they know that people don't change through information alone. They change through reflection. The wise speak just enough to plant a seed. They don't overwhelm with knowledge. They don't try to dominate with intellect. They illuminate and then let the other person find their way. Their restraint is not a limitation. It's a strength. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, they've chosen to speak only when it adds value. They've chosen the quiet confidence of someone who knows but doesn't need applause. They don't fear being overlooked because they understand something deeper. Knowledge is not power until it's applied. An application requires patience, timing, and trust. They've outgrown the need to impress. They're not interested in proving how much they know. They're interested in using what they know to move forward, to uplift, to create change, but only when the moment calls for it. They understand that knowing more doesn't make you better. It makes you responsible. And responsibility begins with restraint. So they move through life with full minds and quiet lips, not to conceal, but to protect, not to withhold, but to preserve the potency of their truth. And in doing so, they leave behind the noise of competition and step into the stillness of wisdom, a space where depth is honored and silence often says more than speech ever could. And so I leave you with this. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to explain to be understood. The most powerful thing you can do in this loud, restless world is choose silence when silence is strength. Walk wisely. Speak sparingly, shine silently, because the soul that knows itself has no need to boast. Let the world wonder, let them guess. That, my dear, is the quiet roar of intelligence.